Welcome to the Coach Debbie Potts Show, where high performers learn how to stop guessing and start aging stronger, not slower. Your host is Coach Debbie Potts, functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, metabolic health coach, and host of this show. Here, we dive into the why behind fatigue, stubborn weight, hormone chaos, gut issues, and declining performance. Using real data, functional lab testing, metabolism analysis, and simple daily habits that actually move the needle. Whether you're an endurance athlete, an executive, or simply committed to becoming your strongest future you, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Hey, it's Debbie Potts. I'm back again on a Rabbit Hole podcast because I wanted to share how I'm putting this all together for my fellow high performers, middle-aged individuals that are type A, AAA. I've been wanting to record this for a long time because it brings together everything I've been learning over the past decade or more from functional medicine, nutritional therapy, my endurance sports background, biology, how systems work, metabolic chaos to metabolic harmony, mitochondria, my metabolism testing, going into microbiome research, and just really my own journey from being a competitive triathlete doing Ironmans to having adrenal exhaustion, or rather metabolic chaos, and back again to share this. If you are a fellow high performer, entrepreneur, leader, physician, type A, AAA personality, and an endurance athlete who thrives on more is better, simply someone who prides themselves on discipline and doing hard things, I ask you to ask yourself a question. What if the very qualities that make you successful are now preventing you from being the healthiest version of yourself? It's not that discipline is bad, your training load is bad, your race schedule, your hard work, your discipline is bad, because I'm thinking it's more that our body does not measure success the same way society does. I have been figuring out something big. Our body is measuring one thing: safety. And every second of every day, our physiology is asking one question: am I safe enough to build, or do I need to survive right now? That one decision determines almost everything that happens inside of our body. Our hormones, digestion, metabolism, our immune system, our mitochondria creates our energy, ATP, our microbiome, and even our recovery. This all impacts how well we age. So here's a philosophy that has completely changed how I even investigate the health history, timeline, functional lab test investigation I do as an FDN practitioner and a nutritional therapist. I no longer really believe that our goal is simply finding the root cause. Instead, I'm coming to the conclusion that I feel that it's our job to understand the conversation happening inside our body. Because your body isn't just a machine that we can just beat to the ground and recover and bounce back from. I know I was competing at Ironmans, doing marathons, 50K trail runs, 70.3 races, shorter races, 5K, 10K, whatever. I was racing all day, every day, all year long for years, running my own fitness studio, trying to be on top of being in the biohacking world, low carb, keto space, fasting. I was doing it all at my health and wellness studio for 10 years altogether. I broke myself down. I burned myself out. The reason I'd like to collaborate with other people in my business and create more impact together is because I can't do things alone. I already have done that, been there, and it didn't work out too well for my health. I quit racing because my body couldn't do it anymore. I didn't have the energy. And if I pushed too hard, things backfire. So we need to understand Our job is to understand the conversation happening inside of the body. It's an adaptive communication network. Every organ, hormone, immune cell, bacterium in our microbiome, everybody's communicating to each other. Even our mitochondria are constantly communicating. And I didn't learn this in my practitioner programs. All the courses I've taken over the years, I'm learning this because I'm seeing this in middle age, a common theme between all of us that I work on, including me. Health is a communication. Disease is often a loss of communication. Symptoms our body's giving us are just messages. So my job, I think of myself as a health investigator, is to figure out whether we need to stop, pause, reset, and figure out where the conversation is broken down. Remember that telephone game that you play as kids? You pass on that message, relay it to the next person, try to keep the same story going on? Somewhere along that conversation got broken down, and we need to find out where the message is being sent differently or not being sent. So here's what fascinates me. The people that struggle the most that I work with are not the people who have neglected their health. They're not sitting on the sofa eating garbage, being sedentary, being unmotivated to do anything. And that's how I felt when I was struggling and I started to feel fatigue and I could not train and race the way I did. I gained 30 pounds in a few months, being from the best shape of my life at Ironman Hawaii to being 30 pounds overweight and feeling a slug. I could not have energy to do anything. And I was even causing more stress in my body because I was afraid of what people thought of me when they saw me. Oh my gosh, what did Debbie do? She stopped racing and started eating crap and doing nothing, sitting on the sofa, eating not a bowl of ice cream, but the whole container. Whatever they thought of me, that's added more stress to my beaker of stress. We are the opposite. We meal prep, we train 6 days a week. We're wearing that continuous glucose monitor. We're tracking our data on our Aura, Whoop, Garmin. We're optimizing our sleep, we think. We're taking 30 different supplements. We sauna, we cold plunge, we fast, and biohack more and more and more. The client that I see is what I talk about here. They are doing more than almost everyone that they know, yet guess what? They're still exhausted. Why? Because they keep asking one question. How can I do more? They're trying all the right things, but they're not getting the desired results back because the body is asking a completely different question. Can I survive everything I am asking you to do? So there are two different conversations. I'm finding the body has two modes. And this is one of the biggest lessons I've learned. Our physiology has two major operating modes: build or survive. Think about this. Every decision your body makes is based on two priorities. When your body feels safe, it's going to build. It builds muscle, the bone, hormones, mitochondria, tissues. It improves digestions, repairs tissues, strengthens immunity, improves your resiliency, and gives you energy. But just the opposite, when your body senses you are in danger, it's going to conserve. Your metabolism will slow down. Your thyroid activity is down-regulated. You are breaking down muscle for fuel, not fat. You're storing the body fat and decreases reproduction. I never got pregnant. I wonder why. My body was in a mode to help me survive. So I'm not going to make a baby when my body's just trying to keep me alive. Your digestion will probably slow down. Your detoxification. Your body will limit repairing because survival always comes before optimization. So another analogy I have is this: the cell danger response is similar to your phone. Think of it has explained this to clients. An iPhone. The phone battery is sitting at 12%. What happens? The phone automatically enters low power mode. Have you seen that? Notice how the screen dims down. It stops loading or downloading any apps. It limits the background activity and it slows down the processing speed. Nothing is broken. The phone is protecting itself so you can make that emergency phone call. Your body does exactly the same thing. Your mitochondria are the battery. ATP that mitochondria produce is your cellular currency. And so if your cells do not believe enough energy is available, they begin shutting down expensive processes. What about muscle building? Nope, can't do it. It's too expensive. How about optimizing our thyroid function? Nope, too much work, too expensive. Healthy hormones? Nope. Excellent digestion? Too expensive. Time to repair? Nope, can't do it. Too expensive. Longevity? Nope, can't do it. The body isn't failing. It's budgeting. And if you think of an accountant doing an audit, you got to figure out where I can trim the expenses. It's budgeting. So here's where I put this all together as my mind gets so curious as I get older. Every one of our 30 to 40 trillion cells, if they're constantly asking, is it safe to build or should I protect myself? Dr. Robert Navio, who I can't wait to listen to at a conference this November in San Diego, created the cell danger response theory. It's a protective state in which the cells temporarily shift resources away from growth and toward defense in response to any threats, infection, toxins, injury, or other significant stressors. So in the short term, yeah, this works. This is incredibly helpful. It's one of the reasons we have survived as species. The challenge comes when those danger signals never resolve. Chronic stress. Instead of living in a temporary protective state, many high performers, as myself, we and I unknowingly lived here for years. I was in a protective state, not because of one catastrophic event, but because we accumulated thousands of tiny stress signals. If you skipped a recovery day, if you had one poor night's sleep, a stressful deadline at work, every long workout without enough fuel for those that did a lot of fasted exercise as I did and efficient at burning fat, but I did that all the time. So my body started probably feel unsafe, that there's not enough fuel on board. I need to conserve. I did so many Ironman and races all the time and worked out half the day because I was training clients, teaching run groups, doing my own workouts, doing demos for clients in my group TRX circuit training classes. I didn't lose weight. I wasn't skinny. My body was on conservation mode. It was having low battery mode as a cell phone. So every signal, one signal rarely creates metabolic chaos alone. It's thousands of signals over years. When I started to feel my adrenal exhaustion, metabolic chaos, whatever you want to call it, I had HPA axis dysfunction. It was about March, a while ago, 2013. And it's taken me this many years in 2026 to put this all together. It wasn't about more lab tests, more supplements. It was what I needed to do and why we moved from Seattle in my crazy schedule to North San Diego during COVID. It's rewiring my nervous system, getting out in nature, stop my crazy schedule, wake up and get outside, not rushing from the morning I wake up until I went to bed at night. I didn't change my ways when my fitness studio closed. I continued to live that busy lifestyle. I couldn't race Ironman. I wrote 2 books. I wasn't able to have my studio anymore. I had to close it because the building was being torn down, even though I tried to find alternative ways to have a studio with other people. But luckily it did not work out because it was this constant stress. I found ways to continue training people, but instead it was all different locations. I was running around all day long in downtown Bellevue, Washington. One signal alone rarely creates metabolic chaos. Eventually, your cells begin acting that they are running on emergency backup power. I guarantee you this is what happened to me as I look back and reflect on my life, my previous life. But here's another mindset shift. Stress isn't the enemy. Stress is not bad. There's acute stress and chronic stress. We need acute stress, hormesis. Exercise. When I lift weights, I'm breaking the muscle down. It's stress. Doing interval training. I was riding hills this morning, going up top of Mount Israel, going hard as I can. I got my heart rate up to 170. And then I came down the hill, got my heart rate down to 100. That is a stress. Fasting, sauna, cold exposure, work deadlines. These all create stress. Even learning a new skill, as I need to learn Spanish, Italian, and French. I want to learn all these languages. Healthy stress makes us stronger, hormesis, but only if the recovery is greater than the stress itself. And I did a video for my YouTube shorts this morning about my bike ride this morning, going up high heart rate, but then it came all the way down. Example of people are not coming all the way back down from zone 5 and stay in zone 1 long enough to recover so they can go back to zone 5 again. Zone 5, zone 1, zone 5, zone 1. Short sprints, 30 seconds. If they are not coming back up and down, going back and forth, they're probably in zone 3 the whole time. If they're doing zone 2 and they think they're staying at that peak fat max, I guarantee you, they're probably in zone 3 because that's where they're comfortable. When they're doing high intensity interval training, zone 4 down to zone 1, they're not coming down to zone 1. They're often just coming down a little bit and they're kind of bouncing up and down into zone 3. They're not getting recovery. Recovery needs to be greater than the stress itself. That's how you adapt. Without recovery, stress simply becomes accumulated wear and tear. And high performers often become addicted to the stress side of the equation while neglecting recovery, that dopamine hit. And eventually adaptation turns into what happened to me, exhaustion. So here's something else I see with a lot of clients that come see me. Why their digestion shuts down. One of the first systems that impacts digestion. Why does it break down? First, because digestion is an incredibly expensive process. We have to make stomach acid. We have to get digest enzymes to be released, the bile to be released. We have to move through food through the intestines, maintain the gut barrier wall, support the microbiome. All of this requires energy. But if you get what I'm talking about, what happens if your brain is sensing I'm in survival mode? We talked about this earlier. It needs to budget. We need to reallocate resources. So what happens? The blood flow shifts towards muscles and your brain and away from digestion. Why I can't eat a lot on a bike ride or doing an Ironman, more liquids? My body wasn't in digestion mode. It's about racing hard and trying to get to the finish line first. It was away from digestion. So what if we don't have the right order of operations happening from the top down? We see poor stomach acid, so we have poor digestion of protein. So then we don't get amino acids from the protein we eat. We have less muscle protein synthesis. We get more or lack of mineral absorption. And then our bile flow is sluggish. We have fat-soluble vitamin deficiencies because we're not breaking that fat down to get fat-soluble A, D, E, and K. The microbiome changes. We have reduction in butyrate. Your inflammation goes up. Recovery decreases. Remember, everything is connected. So what does that mean? Let's go back to this because this happens all the time with people. We need to think about downstream effects of chronic stress, sympathetic dominance. Taking this a layer deeper. If we have poor stomach acid, that means food that you are eating is not properly broken down in the stomach, the organ, and the signals to the rest of the digestive system become weaker, less strong. If we have poor protein digestion because we don't have enough stomach acid and digest enzymes, the proteins you are eating are not fully broken down into usable amino acids, which is why I suggested my clients to use perfect aminos, essential amino acids. It's the right amount with that right leucine threshold. With reduction in amino acids coming from the food we eat because we have incomplete digestion, this is limiting the building blocks available to repair, to recover, and to help our muscles. Then we've talked a lot about activating muscle protein synthesis. We can't because the body does not have enough accessible amino acids to effectively rebuild and maintain muscle tissue. And then another fascinating clue here, poor mineral absorption, as stomach acid is needed to ionize and absorb key minerals as iron, zinc, and magnesium, and more. After that, the bile flow becomes sluggish because digestion is not properly stimulated and the liver and gallbladder receive weaker signals to release bile. And then if that doesn't happen, we have deficiencies in fat-soluble vitamins since bile is required to absorb vitamin A, D, E, and K from the food we are eating. After that, we might see more changes in the microbiome because undigested food particles can alter the gut environment and feed the less beneficial bacteria. So then we see reduction in something I've been talking about other episodes, butyrate, short-chain fatty acid butyrate, because beneficial bacteria that produce butyrate, one of the key short-chain fatty acids we're learning about is actually a signal and in part of the gut wall lining, the gut barrier protection. The beneficial bacteria that produce butyrate rely on a more balanced environment and proper digestion in order to thrive. Then we have inflammation increase, recovery decreasing. So remember, everything is connected and the body works together with all the systems to create metabolic harmony. So let's touch back on bile, as I've done so many rabbit holes on this and I don't think people really care about it, but I'm fascinated by bile acids because most people just think I need bile to digest fat. But why I keep going to separate rabbit holes is the fact that bile acids, we're learning, are signaling molecules. Bile acids can communicate with receptors throughout the body. So think of those satellite cells, satellites, they have receptors on the cell. And bile acids, remember, signaling molecules, and they can influence glucose regulation, inflammation, energy, thyroid, gut barrier, microbiome, hormones. So when the bile flow slows, guess what? The conversation's changing. The microbiome is going to change. And what I've been diving deep into understanding more, the role of secondary bile acid, the production changes. And we can see this on a tiny health lab. Inflammation signaling changes. Your mitochondria receive different messages. Even your metabolic flexibility changes. It's all about communication. There's a reason I'm talking about all this. And I want you to understand why we need to take ownership of our health today to be better in the future and improve that FutureYou Blueprint personalized approach. Another reason I love to add in testing when ready after we work on the foundation, maybe we order the lab test because no matter what the outcome is on the functional lab test, we still need to make sure the body is ready, the train is ready. So something that keeps coming up is this, not just the primary bile acid, but the secondary bile acids. And looking at this signaling system a little bit deeper is pretty crazy because we're talking about signals and what gets broken. Understanding where the communication line has been out of whack when we look at communication systems, when bile flow slows down, remember the conversation's changing. Bile is not just helping you digest fats. We talked about this in previous episodes, but remember always that bile is acting as a signaling molecule. It's communicating with our microbiome, our immune system, and our metabolism. And going back to bile is released into the small intestine from your gallbladder when you eat, but especially when you consume fat. And as your bile moves through the digestive tract, it does more than break down fats. It interacts directly with the microbes and the receptors in the gut lining. And so when the bile is flowing well, this is going to help regulate which bacteria thrive and which do not, because I'm learning more about the role of bile acids, and they have antimicrobial properties. So bile acids naturally suppress certain bacteria while allowing others to grow, helping maintain a healthy balance and diversity in the microbiome. What's crazy, as your gut bacteria interact with bile, these gut bacteria, certain strains, convert primary bile acids into secondary bile acids. So fascinating how the body works. These secondary bile acids now are acting as signaling molecules, and they bind to receptors in the gut and in your liver. And this will influence your inflammation in your body, your metabolism, and your immune function. This is why I'm learning to look at all the pieces of puzzle, the data, the clues we collect when I'm doing a health investigation. Why healthy bile flow supports your metabolic health and keeps inflammation in check. So when I see bile flow slowing down or becoming stagnant, the balance is shifting. If we have less bile reaching the gut, which means less antimicrobial control, and this can allow certain bacteria to overgrow while others decline. And this disrupts the diversity and stability of our microbiome. As the microbalance changes in our gut, so will the production of metabolites. These are compounds created by the bacteria, and they act as signals throughout our body. And these metabolites send different signals to your immune system. And these can send a signal to increase inflammation. They may alter our immune response and contribute to symptoms throughout the body. Inflammatory pathways can become more active. Your gut lining can be more vulnerable. At the same time, our bile acids interact with these receptors called FXR and TGR5. These receptors influence how your body regulates your blood sugar, burns fat, and produces energy. So while bile signaling, if it's disrupted, these pathways, blood sugar, burning fat, producing energy, pretty key to our metabolic health, these pathways don't function the same way. And our mitochondria will then receive different instructions. So your energy production can be less efficient, your fat metabolism can slow down, and your ability to switch between fuel sources, which we call metabolic flexibility, can decrease. So what just starts as just digestion becomes a full body shift in our communication from the gut to our immune system, to your metabolism, to our energy production. It's all communication, and who's the conductor? The vagus nerve. But what is impacted if we are in sympathetic dominance and putting ourselves in survival mode? The mitochondria are impacted because they don't just simply make batteries to create energy, making ATP. Remember, our mitochondria are also environmental sensors. They're everywhere in our body but our red blood cells. And these mitochondria are surveillance. They're looking at our nutrients, our oxygen, our inflammation, our hormones, your circadian rhythm, microbiome metabolites, oxidative stress. And what's crazy is the mitochondria actually decide whether we have enough resources to build or whether we talked about to be conserved. So that's why I find improving mitochondrial function in the right order of operations isn't just about buying another supplement. We have to change the environment where the mitochondria are living in, right? Because they're observing, they're taking inventory, they're checking everything out, observing environmental sensors. So the mitochondria needs to have that environment, the terrain that is clear, clean, not having these roadblocks, construction, obstacles. The mitochondria are deciding they sense if we have enough resources to exist to build, or if resources must be conserved. So we need to change the environment that the mitochondria are living in, not just take another mitochondria supplement, which they can help, but we have to do the work. There's not a magic pill for fixing our terrain necessarily. It's lifestyle. It's our choices we make, how we improve that environment with that vagus nerve and our proper digestion and our foods we choose to eat and our environment, our stress load. So this is why I'm beginning not to chase any symptoms. What I'm finding I do as a health practitioner is investigate communication. I'm looking for patterns. I'm looking at how are you adapting? How have you adapted for years? Because instead of just asking what disease you have or what labels did the doctor give you, but I'm looking at what story has your own physiology been telling you over the past 20 years, 30 years. Your symptoms you have are clues. Your labs we run are clues. When I do Pinoy metabolism testing, your results are clues. And we put that with your blood chemistry, a GI map type of stool test, your genetics, the data you collect from your heart rate variability, your glucose monitor, your recovery from your workouts, how do you bounce back, your body composition. All these are clues. And each one is a chapter, and together they tell your full story. So this is what I've evolved to be doing the past, more so last year. The FutureYou Blueprint, past year and a half. This is my signature program because I don't want to optimize today's workout. I want to optimize the next 20 years of my life and hopefully yours. You are motivated in middle age. 10 years, I'll be 65. That's so old, but it's not. 75, 20 years. I'm turning 55 suddenly this year and I still say I'm 45. The future you is built one signal at a time. So remember that meal you choose, every workout, your quality of sleep every night, how you recover from workouts, from life, how do you bounce back, how are you breathing all day. Every decision either tells your body you are safe or you are surviving. Your physiology always believes your actions more than your intentions. So before we optimize what I'm learning, my method with my clients that come find me, we are restoring our communication. Because without clear communication between your nervous system, your immune system, your metabolism system, your mitochondria, all the systems work together to create metabolic harmony. If you treat everything separately and you don't improve that communication, the body, I bet, will continue to default. Your default mode is probably survival mode. I did this for so many years. My default mode was survival mode. No matter how many healthy things I did, 10 years, I was probably doing that. This is why I'm finding the flow method, the first step, is not about doing more. Because we already, as high performers, my avatar client is me. An overachiever, the type A, the driven, ambitious entrepreneur, endurance athlete, competitive person, high-performing individual. What we need to do is create that internal condition that allows our body to finally feel safe. Safe enough to shift from conserving energy to building energy. And this is what I'm finding what we do and how it works will depend on each person. But we need to free the nervous system because it's a master regulator of everything. Your digestion, your hormones, your immune function, energy. If your nervous system perceives threat, it will prioritize survival over repair. And so we need to create safety by improving our vagus nerve. We find strategies to do that. Habit stacking. Devices as a vagus nerve stimulator, Pulsetto. This helps you shift from your body being in this fight or flight state into a regulated state where you are allowed to heal and adapt. We also need to work your lymphatic system, your lymph flow. Your lymphatic system is responsible for clearing cellular waste, your toxins, inflammatory byproducts. I can hear down the street, my garbage man's here picking up the garbage at the curb. Your lymphatic system needs to go in and pick all the garbage out of your house and all those garbage cans so your liver can take the garbage, process it into which bin, and put it out to the street to get picked up, your stool. Remember, your circulatory system, cardiovascular system, has a heart that pumps the blood flow around. Your lymphatic system doesn't have a pump. You are the pump, relies on movement and proper flow, proper breath work. So we need to support the breath work through daily movement, proper hydration, how you breathe, specific strategies designed for you to improve circulation, to improve drainage so we have waste removal, or else it accumulates and it creates another source of internal stress. A signal of internal stress all accumulates. Then we need to make sure we have good oxygen flow. As you probably know, the oxygen, what you breathe in, carbon dioxide you breathe out, oxygen is essential for mitochondria function and efficient energy production. To burn fat, we need oxygen, oxidative stress. We use oxygen to deliver and get it into the cells. And our cells can't produce ATP effectively if we don't have oxygen delivered to them. We need proper oxygen delivery and utilization. If not, it leads to fatigue and poor recovery. So if we need to work in your breathing patterns, if we need to support nitric oxide production, if we need to improve circulation, sauna, if we need to optimize metabolic flexibility so we can learn how to burn fat at rest, we need to be able to use both oxygen and fuel sources to create energy. And we also work on waste removal. Remember, if your body cannot eliminate what it no longer uses or what it no longer needs, it creates internal congestion. And that congestion disrupts your communication. It will increase inflammation and keep your body in a state of defensive mode. So we need to restore digestion, stomach acid, digestive enzymes, bile flow, bowel movements, good motility, and enhance liver detox pathways, phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 3 is drainage pathways. So our body can properly process, eliminate the waste, and get the garbage man to come pick it up in the corner in your toilet. After all those foundations work, we're letting the body know it's safe and it's ready to build. Because you can't optimize physiology that's just trying to survive. And that's a key message. Your future self is listening. And here's what I love for you to remember. Every choice you make today is a message you are sending to your future self, the future you. Remember, it's about what signal am I sending? Because every input, your food, movement, stress, sleep, your exercise, remember, creates a biochemical message that your brain and your cells interpret through these hormones and neurotransmitters and metabolic pathways, or communication system. These signals influence your cortisol output, your insulin sensitivity, thyroid conversion, mitochondria activity. Your body is constantly decoding these inputs to determine whether to allocate resources toward growth and repair or toward protection and conservation. And I was in that mode for so many years. So again, don't ask yourself the question or ask me if I should train harder. Ask if your body has a capacity to adapt, because adaptation requires energy to be available, efficient mitochondria function, a balanced nervous system, the right signals, and adequate recovery. So if your system is already under strain, elevated cortisol, depleted glycogen, impaired digestion, reduction in parasympathetic tone or vagal tone, if you add more stress, it simply compounds the load. And without sufficient recovery signals, your body cannot activate the pathways needed for muscle repair, for hormone balance, or improved performance. Instead, it shifts further into survival mode, and this limits your progress and increases even more breakdown. And so that's when people come to me, I'm doing all the right things, but I just can't figure out why I'm not getting the results. It's not layering in more supplements. I want to teach you how to communicate in your body, what communication network needs to be restored before any supplement can work. Because once communication improves, we can clearly see how the body begins to shift out of this survival mode and back into a state of building. How does this happen? We have to do the work. We have to restore the inputs that signal safety, consistent nourishment, adequate recovery, balanced movement, sleep quality, nervous system regulation. We need to support the digestion so the nutrients are actually absorbed. We need to improve oxygen delivery, nitric oxide, mitochondria efficiency, so cells have the energy they need. And we need to enhance the detoxification pathways so all waste products are removed instead of recycled. And guess what? They get stored in your fat. So without any of these foundational signals, the body will continue to prioritize protection over performance. No amount of supplements, more training, more biohacking can override a system that still perceives threat. And I've learned this from working on myself and so many clients that are similar to me. When we address root communication breakdowns, where is this happening? We can allow the physiology to function as it was designed to do. So how do I work with clients? I'm looking at patterns. I'm collecting clues to put our missing pieces of your health puzzle together again. We're investigating, collecting data from lab markers, metabolic testing, digestion patterns, nutritional therapy, signs and symptom questionnaire I send out. Stress response, recovery metrics, lifestyle habits. I'm going to have you document what you're doing for 5 days or more. I want to identify where the signals are mismatched or where they might be missing. Then we strategically layer in interventions that restore balance rather than add more stressors. What clues do I get? I can see low heart rate variability, and this may indicate nervous system overload. I can see metabolism testing as I use PNOE. The results can reveal inefficient fuel usage, poor oxygen delivery. Your blood chemistry panel, when I do a functional analysis, it can show me if there's inflammation, nutrient deficiencies, thyroid imbalances. GI testing as a stool test can uncover microbiome disruptions, impaired bile flow. I put it all together. I don't treat individual lab results. We look at symptoms, energy patterns, recovery capacity. These are all providing us insight into where your communication has broken down. And when we connect these clues, we put the missing pieces of your health puzzle together again to create the FutureYou Blueprint. We stop guessing. Once your body receives the right signals consistently with safety, with nourishment, recovery, we have all that on board, the body will begin to shift in time. How does this happen? Through repeated inputs that tell your physiology it is no longer needing to stay in the survival mode, and balanced meals, adequate rest, appropriate training, and reduction in stress load. We can figure that out. Because your body is always adapting to the environment you create. So when that environment, the signals of safety instead of threat, survival, low battery mode, this is going to reallocate the resources towards building, repairing, growth in the right way, and improving your resiliency. As you start to notice more stable energy, you can feel your digestion improves, you sleep better, your recovery from workouts, you can feel just bounce back. It doesn't take as long. You just have a greater sense of calmness, and you feel that improvement in your capacity. It begins doing what your body was designed to do all along. And what that truly means, how it happens, when it becomes possible, and why it matters. We figure it out. Repair is a process of restoring damaged tissues. Systems get repaired so the body can function properly again. We restore metabolic harmony. Recovery is how the body replenishes energy, balances hormones, and returns to a stable state after stress or exertion. To adapt is the body's ability to respond to repeated challenges by becoming stronger, more efficient, and more resilient over time. I want you to be able to strive to thrive as you get older. We need that repeated signal of safety and support to move out of survival mode and back into building mode. When the body feels safe, you'll start to feel that improved energy. It's like a well-tuned engine running smoothly instead of sputtering on low fuel. Ongoing stress signals keep the body stuck in that survival mode. So we need to remove rocks from the bottom of your shoes so you can walk comfortably again by identifying those energy robbers, reduction toxins, inflammatory load, infections, and any environmental stressors. We need to replace what the body is lacking. The body can't function or repair without the essential building blocks. So we need to replenish the body with the right nutrients, digest enzymes, stomach acid. It's kind of adding missing ingredients to a recipe so it turns out just right. And then we want to re-inoculate the microbiome with beneficial bacteria, feeding your garden, fertilizing your garden with prebiotics, probiotics as a spore base. And we figure out how to create more diversity through the food and our lifestyle. Kind of planting healthy seeds in your garden so we have the right plants growing and get rid of the weeds. And then we repair the gut lining. Damage to the gut and the cells disrupt your ability to absorb that food, to improve your immune system, to improve signaling. We might need to add targeted nutrients and strategies to rebuild that gut wall lining. Similar to fixing cracks in a foundation that I see more and more in our patio and our driveway. It's driving me nuts. But those cracks in the concrete and the foundation, so everything becomes stable. Your house becomes stable if there's cracks in the foundation. And then we work on rebalancing the entire system. True health requires all the systems to communicate and work together efficiently, a metabolic harmony. The nervous system, regulation, the hormones, metabolism, recovery. Similar to conducting that orchestra to create the metabolic harmony, every instrument needs to play in harmony. So sorry for a longer episode. I really wanted to dive into this topic, putting everything I've been talking about together so you understand what the heck is she talking about and why is she boring with us with all this info. I feel that this is what happened to me, and I wanted someone to be there to help understand the why to me, and I'm trying to be that person. So if this describes you, your life, this is why I created this signature 6-month FutureYou Blueprint program. Together, we investigate your unique physiology towards adding in functional lab testing, comprehensive blood chemistry panels, Pinoy metabolism testing, nutritional therapy assessment, looking at your health history, your timeline, and adding in my train first and flow method frameworks. So we stop chasing symptoms and we start uncovering your own unique patterns, signals, and how you've adapted over the years to shape yourself today. What is your health story? What is your journey? And from there, we build a personalized roadmap that helps you improve your energy and digestion, metabolism, recovery, hormone health, muscle resiliency, and ultimately improve your health span. So if you're ready to move beyond surviving and start intentionally building the healthiest version of yourself from the inside out at a cellular level, head over to debbiepotts.net and schedule a complimentary discovery call with me, because your goal hopefully is not just simply to live longer. It's to create that future you that's stronger, more resilient, metabolically flexible, and capable of what you love to do for decades to come. So remember, life is not a race, it is a journey. Let's make sure your future you is ready for all this, for you. So I look forward to hearing from you, and thanks for listening to this extra long solo Rabbit Hole podcast. Let's talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the Coach Debbie Potts Show. If today's episode sparked a light bulb moment, that's your sign to stop guessing and start building your personalized FutureYou Blueprint. You can learn more or book a discovery call at www.debbiepotts.net. Be sure to follow the show on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Just search Coach Debbie Potts. 2 T's. If this episode helped you, please subscribe, rate, and review. It's how we help more people age with strength, energy, and clarity. Until next time, remember, age is inevitable. How you age is not.